Hello everyone, welcome to the course Design and Analysis of Algorithms. You are watching Knowledge Spade. In the last lecture, we have discussed about the analysis of algorithm and we also consider one example. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss the kinds of analysis and we will try to understand the concept with few interesting examples. So let's start. There are three different kinds of analysis of algorithms. The first is the worst case analysis. This is the usual case. Most of the times we are interested in the worst case analysis. The second is average case analysis. Sometimes we need to consider the average case analysis. And the last one is best case analysis. And this kind of analysis is very rarely required. The first one, the worst case analysis, is the maximum time on any input of size n, where T of n is a complexity function with n as size of the input. So T of n is equal to maximum time on any input of size n. The next is average case analysis. In this case, the T of n will be equal to the expected or average time over all inputs of size n. In this case, we have to assume the statistical assumptions about the distribution of the inputs. And most of the times we consider it as the uniform distribution. Or in other words, all the inputs are equally likely. All inputs have equal probability of being selected as input of the algorithm. And the third case is best case analysis, where T of n is equal to minimum time on any input of size n. Most of the time we are interested in the worst case analysis. So first of all, let's look at few examples, then we will return back to this slide and we will try to make these definitions clear. Our first example is about the searching problem. The first algorithm is linear search. It is also called as sequential search. How this searching algorithm does work is explained with this animation. As you can see, we are looking for a number that is 33. So first element will be compared with 33 and we will find that 10 is not equal to 33. Then we will move to the next lot of the sequence or list and so on. We will make the comparisons with each and every element of the list until we find the number. The problem is to search the number 33 in the list, whether this number exists in the list or not. So the sequential search or linear search algorithm will work in a sequence of comparisons. It is probably the simplest algorithm of searching. So the algorithm will compare with the first element. If the number is not equal to 33, then it will compare with the second number and so on. The process will continue until the algorithm finds the number or the algorithm reaches to the end of the list. Now we will see the algorithm of linear search. This is the algorithm for linear search or sequential search. Its return type is Boolean, that is, the function will return true or false. It will return true if it finds the number in the list or array, or false otherwise. There are three inputs to the algorithm. The number one is the array with name A. The second is the number that represents the size of the array, and the third number is item needs to be searched in the list. The algorithm will start with the for loop. The loop will run from the starting of the array to the end of the array. There is only one instruction in the body of the loop, that is an if condition. And in the if condition, we are comparing the required element with the element at position I. If the element found, that is, the comparison is true, it will return true and immediately the algorithm will stop. On the other hand, the process will continue until the loop reaches to the end of the array. At this stage, the loop will stop and we will execute this instruction, that is return false. So this is the algorithm. Hopefully you have understand this. The next is, what will be the time complexity of this algorithm or complexity function of this algorithm? We have assigned the numbers to all the instructions in the algorithm. There are total 7 instructions, but the executable instructions are 6 basically. Only one out of these 2 instructions will be executed because there is no way the both instructions can be executed. These 2 instructions will run only once, therefore these are total 2 instructions. These instructions will run maximum n times, and therefore it is equal to 3n. And the one instruction, that is number 2 instruction, will runs n plus 1 times. Which is equal to n plus 1. So the total sum will be 4n plus 3, and this is equal to t of n. This is our complexity function. Our next example is also related to the searching problem, and the algorithm is binary search. In the binary search, there is one prerequisite of this searching algorithm, that this searching algorithm can only be applied if your list is already sorted. If your data is not sorted, the binary search algorithm will not work at all. So we assume our array is sorted. So let's take the example to understand this algorithm. We have an array of size 10, and the elements of array are 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10, and the elements are already sorted, as you can see. We have to find the number 7, whether the number 7 exists in the list or not. So how the binary search algorithm will work? First of all, the algorithm have to calculate the midpoint of the array. To calculate the midpoint, it will sum up the minimum index and maximum index of the array and divide it by 2, where L represents the low, that is pointed over here, and the H represents the high, and the M over here represents the midpoint, pointed over here. So in the first case, the value of low is 0 and the value of high is 9. So the midpoint M will be equal to 0 plus 9 divided by 2, which is equal to 4.5, but we are considering only integral values. So the integral value over here will be 4. The number at the location 4 will be 5. Now we will compare this number with the number we are searching for. As 5 is not equal to 7, we will check whether the number you are searching for is greater than or less than this number. As 7 is greater than 5, we can discard the array on the left side, this element, and the only part of the array, this part of the array, will remain for searching. So how we can do this? We will move our pointer with name low to the next location of the midpoint. So the low will point to the location 5. Now the same process will be repeated again. The values of low and high will be added up and divided by 2. So 5 plus 9 divided by 2, the answer will be 7. The element at the location 7 is 8. So we will compare our required element with this element. So the 7 is not equal to 8, but 7 is less than 8. Therefore, the array on the right side of this midpoint, including the midpoint, can be omitted, and the remaining part of the array will be considered. That is, only 2 elements now will be left, the location 5 and location 6. So we will move our pointer high to the next location of the mid, that is the location 6. Pointer low will point to the 5 and the pointer high will point to the 6. When we find out the midpoint, that is 5 plus 6 divided by 2, the answer will be 5, that is this point. Now we compare our required element with this element. As the required element is greater than 6, therefore we can discard or eliminate the left side, and we can move our pointer low to the next location of the mid, as the midpoint is the same, therefore the pointer low will point to the element 6. At this stage, your both of the pointers low and high will point to the same element, same location, that is 6, and the midpoint will also be same, that is 6. And when we compare our required element with this location, we will find out that the element is equal to this. Therefore, we have find our required element at last. So this is the procedure of binary search. As you may can see that the number of comparisons over here are 1, 2, 3 and 4. After 4 comparisons, you can conclude that whether the number exists in the list or it is not exist in the list. Basically, for this size of array, this is the maximum number of comparisons, that is 4. After 4 comparisons, you can conclude whether the number exists in the list or not. If we compare this algorithm with the previous algorithm, in the previous algorithm, that is linear search, we can conclude whether the element exists in the list or not after n comparisons. But over here, the number of comparisons are much less than the size of the array. For example, over here, the size of the array is basically 10, but we concluded after 4 comparisons. Now the question is, what is the total number of comparisons required for an array of size n? This is an interesting question basically. So we will try to find out the answer. As you may have seen that after one comparison, the size of the array remains half. Suppose that you have an array of size 16, suppose that. So after one comparison at the midpoint, you probably have an array of size 8. And after another comparison, you probably have an array of size 4. And after another comparison, the size will be 2, and finally the size will be 1. If your element does not exist in the array, you will find that after this much number of comparisons. For example, how many comparisons have been conducted over here? 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 comparisons. So this is a binary search. This is a binary search and this is linear search. In case of binary search, you concluded after maximum 4 comparisons. It is possible that you may find the element after just one comparison or after 2 comparisons. Suppose that your element is at the middle location, and after just one comparison, you will find the required number, and ultimately your algorithm will return with success, and there's no more comparisons will be required. But we are talking about the maximum possible number of comparisons. So in this scenario, if the size of the array is 16, you can conclude after 16 comparisons. Take another example. Suppose that your size of the array is 32. So after one comparisons, you will get an array of size 16, and you know the number of comparisons for 16. So for 32, the number of comparisons will be 5. But in case of linear search, for 32 sized array, you must have maximum 32 comparisons. And what about the case when your size of the array is 64? Suppose that after just one comparison, you will get an array of size 32. And for 32, the number of comparisons are for just 5. So for 64, you can conclude after maximum 6 comparisons. But in case of linear search, you must have 64 comparisons before concluding. Maximum 64 comparisons. And so on. And here another interesting factor. The log of 64, if you take the base 2, the log of 16 is actually 4, because 2 raised to power 4 is equal to 16. So log of 16 to the base 2 is equal to 4, and log of 32 to the base 2 is equal to 5, and log of 64 to the base 2 is 6 basically. So in case of binary search, you have log of n comparisons basically. When we write ln, it means we are talking about the log with base 2. So this is the number over here represents big O of log of n. What is big O? We will define this terminology in the next lecture. But for now, just forget about the big O. But the term log of n is taken from the number of comparisons required in this algorithm. Sometimes we write just LG to represent a log with base 2. No need to write the base 2, just write LG. It means we are talking about log 2. And in algorithms, we are using log 2 almost always. Now just compare it with the linear search. In case of linear search, you have a function big O of n. As already told, just ignore for a moment the big O. The term n represents the maximum possible comparisons in this algorithm. So n versus log of n. The algorithm with log of n comparisons is much efficient as compared to the n number of comparisons. As you have seen, the log of 64 is just 6. If the number is just doubled, like 1 to 8, the log of 1 to 8 will be just 7. So over here, 64 more comparisons will be required, but in this case, just one more comparison will be required. So this is the difference between n and log of n. Okay, now we will move towards the kind of analysis once again. So first of all, consider the worst case analysis. In this scenario, we have defined that T of n is equal to maximum time on any input of size n. And in the best case analysis, we have defined T of n as minimum time on any input of size n. Now let's consider the linear search algorithm. In linear search, when you have an array of size n, okay, we have an array of size n. In this case, the maximum possible number of comparisons required to find an element or to make it sure that the element does not exist in the array, the number is n. So after n comparisons, you can conclude whether the number exists or not in the array. So therefore, the maximum time, if suppose one comparison required 1 unit of time, so the maximum time required in this case will be n. But for the same input size, for the same array, if you are searching for an element that exists at the first location of the array, so after just one comparison, you can find the number. Therefore, the minimum number of comparisons required for an input of size n will be equal to 1. So over here you will say that the time complexity is n, and over here you will say the time complexity is just 1. So this is the minimum case and this is the maximum case. This case is called the worst case. The worst case will occur if your required element is at the end of the array, or in the other case it does not exist in the array. And the best case will occur when your element is at the first location of the array. Now consider the other algorithm, that is binary search. So in the case of binary search, if your element is just at the middle location of the array, you will get the best case analysis. That is, after just one comparison, you can find the number. But what is the worst case? The worst case can be if the number is at this end or at this end, and there are some other locations in the array that depends on the size of the array. So if your element is at the end of the array, you will compare over here, then you will compare over here, and you will compare over here, and so on. And at the end, you will reach at the last element of the array, and finally you will find that the element is present over here. And the same scenario for this search as well. That is, if the element is not in the array, you must have to make the all maximum comparisons. After the maximum comparisons, you can conclude that the element does not exist in the array, and the maximum number of comparison in this scenario is log of n, as already discussed. So after log of n comparisons, you can conclude whether the number exists in the array or not. So this is the maximum number of comparison, therefore it is the worst case analysis. Hopefully you will understand that what is the worst case and what is the best case. Now we will move towards the average case analysis. It is a bit complicated. We will not discuss it in detail over here. After some time in some other lecture, we will discuss the average case analysis in detail, but for the time being, you should remember that in the average case, you have to consider all possible inputs of size n. So, since your size of the array is n, the all possible inputs mean all possible permutations of size n in this case. And the all possible permutations are probably n factorial, that is a huge number. N factorial. So all these permutations are equally likely. For this algorithm, any permutation of these n factorial permutations can be an input to the algorithm. Therefore, we have to consider some probabilities, some distribution, some statistical assumptions, and we have to calculate the average case. That's all. So we will take another example now, and then we will come once again to the kinds of analysis with another example. In this case, our problem is sorting and our algorithm will be insertion sort. So let's move to the insertion sort. If you have ever played cards, you probably have used the algorithm of insertion sort. How this algorithm works? The image shown over here represents the algorithm of insertion sort. As you can see, a player have 4 cards in hand. These cards are already sorted. The cards are 2, 4, 5 and 10. Now the player gets another card. The player have to insert the card into the already existing card. So the player will insert that card after 5 and before 10. This is the actual place of this card. This is the mechanism used in the insertion sort algorithm. Let's take an example of an array of numbers. The algorithm will start from the second number in the list because the one number is by default sorted. No need to sort one number. Sorting will be required if there is at least 2 numbers. So the number is 36. The algorithm will compare it with the number on the left side of it, which is 70. As 36 is less than 70, the algorithm will move 70 to the location of 36 and 36 will be stored at the position of 70. Then the algorithm will move forward and the next element will be selected. It is the third element in the list. It is 40 and algorithm will compare this number with the list on the left hand side of this number. 40 will be compared with 70. 70 is greater than 40. Therefore, 70 will be moved to the right side. Then the 40 will be compared with 36. Now 36 is less than 40. Therefore, the position of 40 is in between the 70 and 36. So 70 is moved to the right side. Therefore, the place of 70 is empty and the 40 will be inserted at the location of 70. In this way, the algorithm will continue until it sort all the elements of the list. Now the question is, how many comparisons or steps required to this algorithm to sort a list of n elements? In order to find the answer of this question, we have to play with a little mathematics. At the first iteration of the algorithm, when the algorithm will select the number 36, the algorithm must have to compare all the elements on its left side. As there is only one element, so after one comparison, the algorithm will conclude that what is the position of 36. On the next iteration, when the 40 is selected, there are 2 elements on the left side of this number, and therefore there are 2 number of comparisons will be required at max to find the exact position of this number. On the third iteration, there are 3 elements on the left side of this number. In this case, only one comparison will be required as 95 is greater than 70. But we are considering the worst case as we have already discussed. And in the worst case, we have to assume that maximum possible number of comparisons. So the maximum possible comparisons in this scenario, when fourth element was selected, the comparison will be 3. Therefore, we will write over here 3 as we are considering the maximum possible comparisons. In the next, we have to compare with the 4 elements, and on the next iteration with 5 elements, and so on. This procedure will be continued, and if the size of the array is n, and when nth element will be selected, there will be n minus 1 elements on the left side of this number. So therefore, n minus 1 maximum comparisons will be required. We want to add up these numbers. So these are the total possible number of comparisons. In the first iteration, 1 comparison. In the second iteration, 2 comparison. In the third iteration, 3 comparison. Remember, we are talking about the maximum possible comparisons. But in actual, it depends upon the data that how many comparisons actually required. But maximum possible comparisons we are considering. So we have to sum up all these comparisons and we will find the complexity function or final result. To sum these numbers, we have to consider a mathematical formula that is presented over here. As you may have studied in your previous classes, that the sum of first n integers is equal to n into n plus 1 divided by 2. The same thing can be written in this form as well. There is no difference between this and this. In our case, the sum is from 1 to n minus 1. So we can replace this n over here and over here with the n minus 1. And the result that we will get is n into n minus 1 divided by 2. So this is the number that is total maximum possible comparisons. We can also write this in the form n square minus n divided by 2. So the biggest term in this formula is n square. Therefore, we have written over here order n square. Now is the time to understand the algorithm. There is a for loop. This for loop starts from the value 2. As we have already said that there is no need to sort one element. We need at least 2 elements. So the algorithm will start from the second element. This instruction will select the element which have to insert. So the number at the location j is stored in the variable key. Take a variable I and assign it the value j minus 1. What it means? It means the j is the position where the element is selected to insert, and we have to start comparison from the element on the left side of this element. Therefore, I is assigned a value 1 less than the j. Consider the while loop. There are 2 conditions in the while loop. The while loop will run until you find the number at location I is greater than the number stored in the key, or the value of I goes to 0. If the value of I goes to 0, it means we have reached to the start of the list and there is no more elements to compare. So the loop will stop. And this other condition is we will stop when we find the actual location of the element. So whenever one of these 2 conditions is false, the loop will stop. There are only 2 instructions inside the loop, in the body of the loop. The first instruction is used to move the element to the right side, and the second instruction is used to decrease the value of I by 1. When the loop stops, the element stored in the key is placed at the location I plus 1 and the loop will stop. For the better understanding of this algorithm, we will consider 2 examples so that you can understand each and every instruction of the algorithm. So let's start. Here's our first example. Suppose that the first 4 elements have been sorted and now your algorithm have to sort the elements stored at the location 5. It means the algorithm have already sorted for j is equal to 2, for j is equal to 3 and for j is equal to 4. Now the value of j is 5. Therefore, the value of key will be 22. What will be the value of I? Obviously, if the value of j is 5, then the value of I will be 4 as shown over here. Now the while loop will start. First of all, we will check the conditions. The value of I is 4, which is greater than 0. Now the element at the position I is 4. The element at the position 4 is 95. 95 is greater than 22. So this condition is also true. Both conditions are true. So the body of while loop will run. Place AI at the location I plus 1. So 95 will be moved to over here. Remember, 22 we have already stored over here. So there is no issue. We can move 95 at the location 5. Then the value of I will be decreased. Now the value of I will be 3. Okay, 3 is greater than 0. Now what is at the location 3? It is 70. As you can see over here, it is 70. 70 is again greater than 22. So the loop will once again run, and the value at location 3 will be moved to the location 4. Okay, the value of I will be decreased. It is decreased to 2. Okay, now 2 is greater than 0, and what is at the location 2? It is 40. 40 is greater than 22. So both conditions are true once again. So the value at location 2 will be moved to the value at 3. The value of I is decreased. What is the next value of I is 1. So 1 is greater than 0. What is at the location 1? At the location 1 is 36. 36 is greater than 22 once again. So the body of the loop will run. This instruction will move this number to the right side, that is over here. Okay, and the value of I is decreased once again. Now the value of I is decreased to 0. So 0 is not greater than 0. So the loop, this instruction is false. So the loop will stop now. Now we will come to this instruction. What this instruction will do? As the value of I is 0, therefore 0 plus 1 is 1. So at the location 1, which is this location, at this location we will store the 22. Therefore the 22 will move over here, and the resulting list is sorted up to the point 5 as shown over here. Now we will consider the second example where the second condition will goes false before the first one. That is, we have to insert this element in between these elements. So let's see how this algorithm will work. In this example, the value of j is 6. So j is equal to 6. What is the element at j? It is 55. Therefore, the value of key is 55. Now we have to insert this element 55 in the list left hand side of this element, and this list is already sorted. So what is the value of I? As the value of j is 6, the value of I will be 5. Good. This is the location to which the I is pointing. So obviously I is greater than 0, and the value of AI is 95 and the value of key is 55. So 95 is greater than the 55. Therefore this condition is true. So we will move 95 to the location next to 5, that is 6. Now the value of I will be decreased. So the value of I is now 4. 4 is again greater than 0, and the value at the location 4 is 70, as you can see over here. And the 70 is once again greater than key, that is greater than 55. So both the conditions are true. The body of the loop will run, and when this instruction will run, the value at location 4 will be moved to the value at 5, and the value of I will be decreased by 1. Therefore now the value of I is 3. 3 is greater than 0. Okay, check the next condition. The value at location 3 is 40. Now 40 is not greater than 55. Therefore this condition is false. When this condition will become false, the while loop will stop over here. Now we will execute this instruction. What is happening over here? As the value of I is 3, as you can see over here, the value of I is 3. And what will be I plus 1? It will be 4. Therefore, store the value of key at location 4, that is this location. So this is the way the algorithm works. Hopefully you have understand the concept of insertion sort, and you have also understand each and every instruction in the algorithm. So what is the number of comparisons or time complexity of this algorithm? So look at the first instruction in your algorithm. The first instruction will run n times. This is a loop, and the body of the loop will run n minus 1 times. As you know, your value of j starts from 2, not from 1. Therefore, all the body of this loop will run n minus 1 times. Now the most interesting part of the algorithm, how many times this while loop will run. The execution of this loop depends on the value of j and the value of key and the value at location I. All these things depends that how many times this loop will run. But as we have already discussed probably many times, that we are always considering the worst case. And what means by worst case? The maximum possible number of times this loop will run. So now remember the example we have discussed. When the value of j is 2, this loop will run only once. When the value of j will be 3, this loop will run 2 times. When the value of j is 4, this loop will run 3 times, and so on. This process will be continue until n minus 1 times. So this sum we have already discussed about it. Therefore, it is just a summation of tj. J runs from 2 to n. So this is just a sum. I think now you can understand this formula. Similarly, the body of this loop. And as you know, the condition in the loop runs 1 time more as compared to its body. Therefore, the body of the loop will run tj minus 1, the summation of tj minus 1. And finally, this instruction is in the for loop. So as the for loop will run n minus 1 times, therefore this instruction will also execute n minus 1 times. Now we have to sum up all these numbers to find the complexity function of this algorithm. So what is the complexity of this algorithm? So here is the answer. The t of n is equal to some constant into n plus some other constant into n minus 1, and all these terms are summed up after multiplying with different constants. So what will be this sum? This summation runs from 2, therefore 1 is subtracted from this summation. So the remaining formulas are applied similarly. There are basically 3 terms in which n square exists. Like over here there will be a term with n square, over here and over here. N square can be taken as common and the constants will be summed up. Similarly, all the terms with n are combined over here and all the constants are combined over here. Now we have 3 terms, one with n square, one with n, and one a constant term, which can be written as an square plus bn plus c. We can represent this constant as a and this constant as b and this constant as c. So this is our final complexity function. T of n is equal to an square plus bn plus c. Our example is completed over here. Let's come back to the kinds of analysis. I think the worst case has already discussed. The worst case in the insertion sort exists when your list is sorted in opposite order. Therefore, at each and every iteration of the algorithm, you have to make all possible comparisons, always. Therefore, this is the worst case. And what is the best case? Let's consider this example for best case. Suppose that your list over here is sorted and now you have to insert the number 15. As this list is already sorted, and when you compare 15 with 9, you will find that 15 is already greater than 9. Therefore, no need to swap any element, no further comparisons are required, and your algorithm will move to the next iteration. So if your list is already sorted in the required order, then you will make one comparison in each iteration of the for loop. Therefore, in n-1 comparisons, you can sort this list which is actually already sorted. So this is the best case. Once again, the first case in insertion sort will exist when your list is sorted in the opposite order, and the best case will exist when your list is sorted in the same order as required. So what is the average case analysis? In the average case, you have to consider all possible inputs of size n, and you have to consider that the probability of each possible input is same, and you have to assign probability distribution to these inputs, and then you have to apply the some mathematical and statistical methods to find the expected value of the time. So that's all for today. In the next lecture, we will discuss the asymptotic analysis and we will define some asymptotic notations.